Hello, everybody. Welcome into the NBA Front Office Show. Preseason is off and running. We had a lot of games on the schedule last night. We're going to break down some of those, plus get into some news. The Suns may be at odds with big man Deandre Ayton. A lot to talk about there. Keith, let's just start with that because that's the big story of the day. The Suns not willing to give a max deal to Deandre Ayton. That doesn't seem like a great look for the Phoenix. I mean, to me, this should just be automatic. I'm not overvaluing DeAndre Ayton here, am I?
No, I mean, I'm with you on that one. I think he is worth a max in the context of guys like him get max
Mm-hmm.
deals now. That's just the reality of it. If they won't do it, somebody else is going to. And a lot of people have thrown my way, so then let somebody do it in restricted free agency. Well, the reality of that is if you do that, you run the risk of then it's probably going to be a 3+1 that you're going to match if you want to, and then you're going to lose him in at the most after 3 seasons because now you've made him angry that
Mm-hmm.
he had to go out and take less money and just have a contract match. So I would get this done. I would not give him a player option. I would not give him the escalator language that would bump him up to 30%, but the 25% max over 5 years, get it done. Then get Mikal Bridges signed, and now you've got your core of Booker, Ayton, and Bridges locked in, and you've got Chris Paul for a couple more years. If they don't do this, this is a sign that they're not fully committed to trying to win a championship.
It's crazy. He shot, I can tell you from that first round series against the Lakers, he shot roughly 175% from the field. Like it was
Yeah.
it was incredible. He just did not
Yep.
miss anything. He played great. It was phenomenal. And you look at his peers, they're all getting deals right now. So, of course, he's going to feel like he should also get one of those. Now, you can say maybe he's not in the same tier as Luka, but look at what Michael Porter
Sure.
Jr. just got, right? A max, and this is what gets me. I see people all the time on social media that say, "Oh, well, he's not really a max player." No, we're not understanding the concept of a max player well enough because we're forgetting that the guys who we see as max guys, your LeBron, Kevin Durant, right, like the top tier guys in the NBA, Giannis, those guys actually should be higher than a max. Just the
Yeah.
CBA restricts them from getting more than that. So they're bargains on those contracts. They are not the only guys who get max. A max isn't given to a guy who's a generational talent. That's not what it takes in order to get to that level. So some people see max and they just assume, oh, that means the guy's just this transcendent superstar, but that's not really the way the max salaries work.
No, not at all. It's not even close to the way it
No.
works, and that's the like you said, that's the unfortunate thing here. The misunderstanding of it's not a vacuum. You exist in a world where there's 29 other teams, and if one of them, just one of them, is willing to give him a max, then he should get the
Hmm.
max. And let's be fully understanding. We're not talking the Luka Doncic, probably Trey Young max that gets them over 200 million over the 5 years. We're talking the 172.5 million that Shea Gilgeous Alexander got.
Yeah.
I'm fine if you want to push it like you did with Michael Porter Jr., like Denver did, and maybe do a non-guarantee on the end or something like that, or some language that, hey, you keep improving. But I go back to a lot of people were like, oh man, the Hawks did so good to lock up Clint Capella to a 2-year extension worth about 45 million or so. And it's not that they didn't. I think they did great to lock him up. But I'm sorry, Aiton's younger,
Hmm.
and giving him 6 million more a year or so, that's fine. I have no issue with that at all. Capella is now what, he's 27, so he'll turn 28 right towards the end of, well, I mean, sometime in the playoffs. Maybe Atlanta will still be in then or not. And nobody's screaming and yelling about that. That when he's in his 30s, everybody's fine with him getting 22 and 23 million. Ayton just turned, I think, 23. I think
Hmm.
it is. So I don't understand this. If you're the Suns, to me, if I was Suns fans, I would be absolutely livid if they just mess around here because people are screaming, well, you can't expect a team to spend that kind of money. Sure, you can.
Yeah.
Do you want to win a championship? That's what you do. The Milwaukee Bucks just won a title. What did they do? They've gone deeper into the luxury tax than they've ever gone before this year to try and defend it. Lakers, Clippers, Nets, Warriors. You don't need to get stupid. Like a couple of those teams would be 40 million over the luxury tax line. But tripping into the tax, that's how you win titles. You got to get it done.
I mean, look, if you were to put every GM in the NBA in a room and you said, raise your hand if you would give DeAndre Ayton a max, how many hands do you think go up?
At least 20.
Yeah, right. And that's all that
Yeah.
matters. That's all that matters.
Yep.
Like if he was on the market, most teams would indeed do that. Now, I will say though, he's not going anywhere. He's not gonna. This isn't gonna get to the point where the Suns say, you know what, we're just not gonna give you this contract. Go ahead, hit restricted free agency, and then maybe we'll let you go. I don't think it's getting to that point. And that's maybe why this is even more confusing. Like you're going to, regardless of what happens here, you're going to keep this guy around. Do you really want that bad vibe of, well, we tried to strong arm you here into a contract that's based on what your peers got, probably less than what you're worth?
You know what I wonder? Is he the guy that then signs the qualifying offer? His qualifying offer is 16.4 million, so it's a pretty good sized number
Ooh.
compared to where those qualifying offers usually come in. And then he'd be an unrestricted free agent in 2023, and then he can do whatever he wants. So I wonder if he looks at it and says, "You're going to make me go out and sign a deal with another team that you're just going to match, and then you're going to have kind of control over this process for the next few years." Nah, I'll sign the qualifying offer. I'll play it out on that, bet on myself, and then I'll go get paid from whoever it is I want to be with the next year. And I think the other thing is,
Mhm.
too, I learned today on Twitter, a lot of people don't fully realize how good DeAndre Ayton has
Also
become.
true.
He's a walking double double. This guy shows up and he's 15 and 10. Every night. It's just it's kind of ridiculous that we're here, and he's become a pretty good defender. So just you got to get this one done if you're the Suns.
That would be a first, wouldn't it? If a guy was to turn down big money in order
Yeah.
to take the qualifying offer. But that's
Yep.
interesting. I just, because it hasn't happened, I don't even have that as like a thought in my head as a possibility. But you're right. If that qualifying offer is 16 million, maybe that is
Yeah.
it. Maybe that is the path we go, and that would be disastrous for the Phoenix Suns
Yeah.
if that's what happens.
Absolutely. Yep. Yeah, that's why you can't push this. Don't mess around. Just get it done. It's not gonna be a bad contract. He'll
Mhm.
be fine. He's gonna be a top 5 to 8 center in the league for the life of whatever his next deal is, assuming it's 4 or 5 years. Just get it done. It's the center position is not dead. People may go too far with that in the NBA. So, but yeah, I don't know, and I get it. You got to also think about paying Mikal Bridges, and he's probably going to push somewhere between 15 to 20 million a
Mhm.
year is my guess. But all right, lock it in. Spend a whole bunch of money. I mean, part of the whole thing with Chris Paul was he's only on the big contract for one more year after this,
Right.
and then everything dips into being partially guaranteed. So you can get out of that if you really need to into much cheaper money. You got Cameron Payne on a nice deal. Jay Crowder's only got a year left, so you're really only looking at a huge tax bill for probably a year or two. And do it. You're a title contender. You're right there. You went to Game 6 of the finals. You had a 2-0 series lead. If things had gone right, you might have been able to win it. But we'll see. I don't have a lot of faith that ownership is going to greenlight James Jones in the front office to do the right thing.
Yeah, it's going to be one to keep an eye on, certainly, and one that's surprising. I didn't think we were going to be heading down this path. But you know what? Not the only big man in the news. Pau Gasol officially announcing his
Yeah.
retirement today, and the Lakers follow that up by saying that they will indeed retire Pau's number 16. It was definitely time. He had been dealing with foot issues for years, finished his career playing over in Europe, but a very, very talented big man, multi-time All-Star, NBA champion, deserves all the accolades, and what a tremendous career for him.
Yeah, he did a lot to bring back the idea of European big men can be successful in the NBA. Because for a little bit there was, I don't know about this guy. Is this guy going to be good? Is he even going to make it? And all those kind of things. And there was a stigma attached to those guys. And he is, and now he's locked in there playing really really well. So I'm happy for him that
Mhm.
he's going out. Seems like when he wants to, but really it's time. And yeah, for the Lakers to retire his number big time. That's part of that well, I guess not most recent title group because
Mhm.
you just had one, but that kind of most recent dynasty group, let's call it that.
Yeah, and I've seen some people push back on the idea of his number being retired, and I don't see that at all. I mean, look,
Yeah.
he's going to be a Hall of Famer. He's obviously going to get his jersey retired just on that. But then you look at the impact that he's had with the team. He was tremendous for so many years. Had that mind meld with Kobe Bryant, and certainly deserving, I believe, of getting
Yep.
his number retired.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, we can quibble about that, but I'm not the guy to have that conversation, considering the team I grew up loving and cover now has retired more numbers than anybody else. That's not a conversation I want to jump into.
A conversation we do want to jump into. Some preseason games. Keith, you and I were able to bounce around the NBA a little bit last night and catch some of these games. So let's talk a little bit about some of the games that we did see. Let's kick things off with the 76ers. No, Ben Simmons was not there. We can put the Simmons siren away.
Nope, no Simmons siren today.
and the Toronto Raptors, Scotty Barnes showed some things in that one. Pretty impressive from him. Liked what we saw there. And the Raptors, they didn't really run any bigs, so maybe not a huge surprise. But Andre Drummond, 19 points, 14 boards, 3 assists, and 4 blocks, along with 5 turnovers, and the 76ers lost the game. Maybe that's the most Drummond stat line ever. I don't know.
Yeah, it's right up there. Only 24 minutes for him, too. Not right uncommon. Veterans are only going to log generally around 24, 25 minutes in these preseason games. But yeah, it's that's a throwback to the Detroit days for Drummond for sure, including the loss on top of that. But yeah, Scotty Barnes to me was the standout here. He was excellent. Kind of showed that all around game that I think everybody thought he would have. Didn't make any 3-pointers when he only took 1. And then OG Anunoby played well too. I think they're going to need him to do that, kind of step into that scoring role a lot more, especially while Pascal Siakam is out as he recovers from the offseason shoulder surgery. So it's going to be a little bit a little bit of bummer news out of Toronto. Chris Boucher dislocated his one of his left fingers, and he's going to be out probably to start the year, probably at least a couple weeks into the season. Sounds like about 3-4 weeks for him. So that's a little bit of a bummer. But yeah, and then the last shout out from that one, your guy Svi
Mykhailiuk, he looked good.
13 points off the bench. A couple people have asked me if I thought he was actually going to make that roster. I think it's a guarantee he's going to make that team.
Yeah, I saw some smart plays from him, some nice cuts to the basket, which is, everybody knows him as a shooter, but he actually had a really nice run to the rim. He had 13 points on the night and 5 assists. So nice performance from him. And that's the other, Scotty Barnes, you look at that number. If you're playing fantasy basketball, 13 points, 9 boards, 6 assists, 2 steals, 2 blocks. That's gold. Throw in a 3-pointer if he can get one of those, and he's crushing it out there.
On the stat line.
Absolutely. By the way, a little bit of irony here. Ben Simmons did not play, and the 76ers shot 23% from 3.
Yeah. I mean, well, it is what it is,
but,
right?
Ben, why don't you just shoot threes? You'd be just like everybody else. Nobody else is making them, right?
Everybody else missed them, no doubt. That was kind of a story around the league yesterday. A lot of missed 3-pointers in the games I was popping in on.
Yeah. All right, let's jump to your team. Well, your teams, I guess. Your hometown team, the Orlando Magic. And the Boston Celtics. Exciting finish. And I got to say, I know obviously Lakers fan and all that, right? Like I'm not supposed to think good things for the Celtics, but it was nice to see Jaylen Brown back out on the court after seeing him go down due to injury. That was great because you hate seeing guys get injured. So nice to see a triumphant return for him.
Yeah, he was really good. He had 25 points in only 26 minutes. Hit some jump shots, did some stuff off the dribble. He did say after the game there was times that the wrist really was bothering him, but it's something he's working through. He said he's only at about 80 to 85%, but they have assured him there's no further damage that can be done, and he'll continue to move forward as it goes. So yeah, he looked pretty good. Jason Tatum looked good. Jason Tatum had probably the play of the night. That baseline drive where he dunked on a couple different guys from the Magic, including Wendell Carter. Then Aaron Nesmith looked solid off the bench, and Romeo Langford hit a game-winning 3-pointer with about 10 seconds or so left in the game for them to win. And then on the Orlando side, thought Cole Anthony looked really good. I thought he played really well for them, kind of all around running the floor, running the team rather, I should say. And then Jalen Suggs, it was messy offensively, but he had 2 really nice blocks. I put them on my Twitter if anybody wants to see them. One was a help block on Robert Williams at the rim. That's not easy to do. And then he got Jason Tatum in transition one-on-one, where Tatum tried to kind of cross him over and break him down, and Suggs kept his feet, stayed in front of him, then blocked Tatum's layup attempt. Both of those are on my Twitter account at Keith Smith NBA. You can find those videos. So just looked good and competitive. So we'll see where it goes from here for both these
And
teams.
had a deep 3 on the night. Didn't shoot well on the night, 3 for 11, but one of his makes was a deep 3. Let me finish with this, though. Robert Williams III. Now, knowing Lakers fans, if somebody the Lakers just paid a bunch of money to went 0 for 7 on the night, there would be, the sky would be falling. How are Celtics fans doing with the Robert Williams stat line of 0 for 7, 5 boards, 2 blocks, 1 point in 20 minutes?
Well, so I'm going to tell you 2 things. One is they were down at halftime, and there was a guy, 100% was not joking or trolling, because he hits me up on a very regular basis, saying that the Celtics made a mistake in hiring Ime Udoka. He didn't like any of his lineup decisions, starting decisions, in that they should have interviewed and hired Kendrick Perkins. So that gives you a sense of where that was at. So yeah, that was ridiculous. But yeah, there were the people who were really concerned, you could tell, didn't watch the game, because Robert Williams' main reason why he struggled was he took a lot of jump shots. A lot of jump shots from about anywhere from 8 to 15 feet, and those weren't going down. So that's not bad, right?
No.
That's what preseason is for.
Mm-hmm.
You'll see where that's at. My guess is those kind of quickly get excised out of the bag if they're not going in, and he'll spend the rest of his time focused around the rim. But he made some nice passes, and he blocked 2 jump shots on guards that he got on perimeter switches. So that's where his value is going to lie for this team.
It drives me crazy. Preseason is not regular season, and especially, I mean, after a half of basketball, it's way too early to make. I mean, we're beyond small sample size here. To make judgment calls here. But anyway, let's jump to the Miami Hawks and Atlanta Heat. A game that I flipped that.
Yeah.
The Atlanta Hawks and the Miami Heat.
What is that? What does Willy Wonka say? Strike that.
Yes.
Reverse it.
Yep. But this was one of the games that I caught, and I was really impressed by how crisp Miami looked on the offensive end of the floor. Now, they did have a lot of their regular starters out there. You had PJ Tucker, Bam Adebayo, Kyle Lowry, Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson. So those are all like main contributors. Jimmy Butler not playing. But other than that, they had a lot of key guys out there. But they looked regular season ready. They looked really, really good with the way they moved the ball. And Kyle Lowry just looked like a very easy fit with them. Only shot 1 for 4 on the night, but 7 assists, 4 boards in 15 minutes. He was making plays out there. And Miami, you know what? If I'm obviously don't take too much away from preseason, but if I'm a Heat fan, I'm pretty excited based on what I saw last night.
Yeah, I agree, and important for the Heat too. Tyler Hero looked good.
Yes,
he had a really sophomore season, but he looked really, really good. He's kind of their key guy off the bench, because if there's one thing this team doesn't have, it's a lot of depth. They probably only go about 7 guys deep that you can really feel good about off the bench. So yeah, it's definitely interesting. Name to keep an eye on out of Miami. Just because they've had a lot of success with guys like this. Max Strus, he had 14 points, 4 3-pointers. He is a shooter, so you can run a lot of the same stuff you run for Duncan Robinson for him. So just keep an eye on him. It wouldn't surprise me if he plays 15, 20 minutes a night off the Miami bench. On the Atlanta side, they kind of were what they usually are. They shot pretty poorly, missed a lot of open 3-pointers too. But otherwise, this game would have been a lot closer. And Trae Young left with a thigh bruise, not supposedly a big deal, but left. So he should be okay.
Whoa, I don't. I'm assuming this. My mic probably didn't pick this up, but we just got a big thunderclap right over my place here.
Did not hear it. I thought you were seeing ghosts.
No, I was like, oh, whoa! Felt like the room shook a little bit there.
The haunted studio.
Yeah, a little creepy. It's not Halloween yet, is it?
Not yet. A couple weeks.
So when I was looking at this, I was watching this game, and there was one play that Tyler Hero made that actually it ended up being a negative for the team because it was a goaltend. But Trae Young was on a breakaway, and Tyler Hero raced to get back into the play, tried to get a chase down block, really went for it. But I was impressed with his springs. The ball got to the backboard first, and so it wound up being a goaltend. But as well as he looked on offense, I went, wow, okay, that was great to see from Tyler Hero in a preseason game, kind of taking upon himself to make that extra effort. Would have been very easy just to say, Trae Young, go ahead, take this layup. No, he went for it, and that's exactly the mentality that Miami Heat like. So that was great to see. I'll also tell you another thing that stood out. Jahlil Okafor, out there for the Hawks, he played 13 minutes. I don't think, it's possible I missed one, but I don't think he got a single post-up opportunity. And I thought, hey, how much value? That's what he's best at, right? Is scoring in the
Yeah,
post.
I
And
didn't see any either.
we can say that's antiquated and stuff in today's NBA. But how
That's
much
what he
success
does.
is he gonna have if Atlanta's not going to give him any opportunities to do what he's best at?
Yeah, it looked like they used him a little bit how they used Capella, which is more as a rim runner,
Yep.
and a roll
But
man,
that's not
and
really
that's
him.
not necessarily his thing. So yeah, we'll see. We don't know yet if he's even going to make the team. Right, he's on a camp deal. It's
Yeah.
probably between him and Timothy Luau Cabarro for that last spot. So let's see. Yeah, I think if the Hawks wings can get back for the start of the year, so Hunter and Herter did
Mm-hmm.
not play in this game, but if they're both back, then I think it's more likely Okafor snags that last spot because we know Okongwu is going to be out, and we're not entirely sure yet on Clint Capella, but yeah, definitely something to keep an eye on.
Okay, let's talk Wolves and Pelicans. The Timberwolves are 1-0, playoff bound, right? Here we go.
It is.
Here we go.
Celebrate.
A lot of guys out. Zion Williamson obviously not playing in this one, but Brandon Ingram did 14 points, just like his jersey number, 3 assists, 2 steals. I did not catch this game, Keith. I know you caught some parts of it.
A little bit.
We also saw a debut for Devontae Graham, 9 points, 3 boards, 2 of 5 from deep. But what were your big takeaways from the Pelican side of things?
Yeah, Trey Murphy off the bench
Yeah.
hit 6 3-pointers. For them, looked really good. Built off what was a pretty strong summer league.
Yeah.
He's going to be in the mix to be a rotation guy for them. I thought Jackson Hayes looked okay out there. He got hurt at one point. I have not had a chance to check in on the severity of that, so we'll see. And then Nickeil Alexander-Walker. Let's see what his role ultimately is with this team. But he played really well off the bench too. So Pelicans. The depth is young, but I don't think it's necessarily bad. And just a guy, he's not gonna show up in box scores a lot, and probably anybody that if you're not watching, people aren't gonna notice a lot. But Herb Jones played pretty good off their bench. He's forward size guy, is about 6'7" or so, but he works really really hard, and they used him as a small ball 5 at times. So I think they're starting to build up some guys who are interesting, complementary guys like him and Najee Marshall and guys like that can come in and fill in around Ingram, Zion, Graham. You've got enough offense. You need a couple guys who will play a little bit of D.
Yeah, when I'm looking at this roster and I see Murphy the third, he was one of my favorites in the draft, and I think he's a very easy plug and play guy, and so I think he's an easy one to turn to. And then Alexander Walker. When you look at what the Pelicans did, obviously they believe in him. Moving Eric Bledsoe, they want to feed him those minutes, and 22, 3 and 3 assists. That's a solid night of work for him. Jumping over to the Timberwolves side of things, you got Anthony Edwards puts up 10 points, 19 for D'Angelo Russell, 15 for Karl Anthony Towns in just 14 minutes. So that's pretty productive there. I know there was a moment, I didn't see it, but there was some buzz on Twitter about a moment where it looked like he took a bit of a hard fall. That's always scary, especially in preseason.
Yeah.
Not what you want to see happen. And that's why you see teams bench their stars as much as they can in preseason play.
Yep. Yeah, and I think you're going to see Cat have probably his best all-around season. Chris Finch has put in some of the stuff when he was an assistant that he installed in Denver with Nikola Jokic. And then some of the stuff that I believe he was in New Orleans when AD was there. I know he wanted to talk about that a little bit to run some of that same stuff. So 4 assists for Towns too in those 14 minutes. That's big. The things that stood out to me though was they started Jaden McDaniels and Josh Okogie there, so that I think is interesting because you've got a lot of offense with Towns, Edwards, and Russell. So get a couple defenders out there along with those guys. I think that's helpful. And then off the bench, kind of Malik Beasley was his bench unit to run in his 19 minutes. So we'll watch and see. You can't take a ton away from these early season lineup decisions because they're trying things out. Like to go back to Boston, Al Horford didn't really play a lot with the starters because Ime Udoka said we kind of know what that looks like. We actually have tape on that. We have a good feel. We wanted to see other lineup combinations. That's why Juancho Hernangomez started there for them. But yeah, interesting looks from the Wolves. So we'll see where that goes moving forward.
Jumping over to Charlotte and Oklahoma City, the Hornets win 113-97.
No TV, so
Yeah, but I did see. I caught some of the highlights on that one. LaMelo Ball was doing LaMelo Ball things. James
yep,
Bouknight looked pretty good from what I saw. 20
yep.
points and 4 boards for him. You did have 4 turnovers as well, but I did see a lot of the hit aheads from LaMelo. That looked pretty good. I mean, you expect those kinds of things from him, and then jumping over to Oklahoma City. Again,
Josh Giddey.
yes, they only played Shea
Yeah,
Gilgeous-Alexander 17 minutes, but Giddey 7 boards, 3 assists, 18 points. Gotta like that if you're OKC.
yep, no doubt. Yeah, and it's OKC. I mean, kind of feels like a lot of their games are going to be like preseason games where they're just going to be shuttling guys in and out on a fairly regular basis. So yeah, let's jump to
Let's do
Spurs
it.
Jazz. This one also no TV. The Jazz, from what I saw and from what I read the accounts of, they were kind of playing it like, let's get this thing over with.
Yes.
Rudy Gobert didn't play. Bojan Bogdanovic didn't play. Joe Ingles didn't play. Rudy Gay didn't play. Rudy Gay is going to be out for the entirety of the preseason. They're hoping to have him back around the start of the regular season. Donovan Mitchell got up 19 shots in 22 minutes. So hopefully he iced his elbow a little bit there. Jared Butler, though, kid who I think we're all rooting for, guy whose stock fell in the draft because of some health-related concerns, fully cleared. He had 16 points. And then on the Spurs side, they just kind of did Spurs stuff.
Yep.
They went to a whole bunch of their different guys. They went with a lineup that I think probably will be their opening night lineup. Jakob Poeltl, Keldon Johnson, Doug McDermott, Derek White, and DeJounte Murray. And from what I saw and read from those who actually saw the game live, ball moved pretty good. They were pushing pace. They defended really well. I think this team's going to defend really, really well this year. And I think that's going to keep them in more games than I think people are giving them credit for.
And you know what? They took a ton of flack for selecting Josh Primo in the draft.
And he played
7 for 8 and 3 of 4 from deep, 17 points on the night. So a little bit of a kind of take that from Josh Primo. But yeah, Utah looked like they just kind of said, okay, let's get through this thing right now. It was played in San Antonio. I wonder, did anyone recognize Jordan Clarkson there? Maybe.
Yeah. Unlike in Utah. Hey, let's jump to Warriors Trailblazers. I did watch a good amount of this. Here's my number one takeaway.
Yes.
The Warriors took 69 three-pointers out of 100 shot attempts. 69. So we can make the joke. Nice amount of three-point attempts, right? But that's crazy. That's just absolutely nuts. Jordan Poole, go get this guy in your fantasy leagues. He is gonna be a monster this year.
I was laughing when I saw that run across my Twitter timeline. I went, Keith literally was just talking about how Jordan Poole is the guy to watch, and then he goes and drops 35 and 5. Keith, I'm going to ask you, like, what should I pick on my next lottery tickets? Like, give me the numbers. You know something.
Give me some thought. I'll put some thoughts into it, and I'll let you know. A couple other things that stood out. Otto Porter Jr. looked pretty good. Looks like he's in actually pretty decent shape. He had 19 points, hit four three-pointers. Juan Toscano Anderson, he didn't make any three-pointers, but he had 5 rebounds, 5 assists. They kind of play him like mini Draymond. That's kind of the role that they are putting him in. He did go 0 for 5 from 3, but that he took 5, I think, is the good takeaway. But yeah, 69 threes gotten up there. And then on the Blazers side, it's kind of all the stuff you expect. Dame did his thing. CJ did his thing. Nurkic did his thing. They did that, and then they just got overwhelmed by the fact that the Warriors' deeper bench guys are just better, younger than the Blazers' deep bench players.
You know, Larry Nance Jr. makes his Blazers debut in a surprisingly kind of no-show stat line anyway. No points, 2 rebounds, 0 for 1 shooting, and his one shot was a 3. So that was a little bit of a surprise. I mean, it once again looked like, compared to the Warriors, the Blazers just didn't really have the depth to keep up. The starters did their thing, but then once it came time for the bench, the Blazers just didn't have it.
Yep. Yeah, Suns Kings. This one was not on TV. I only caught a couple highlights, but I was able to read about what happened here. The Suns didn't play Chris Paul, Devin
Yeah.
Booker, Jay Crowder, so three of their starters were out. We already talked about DeAndre Ayton. He looked okay out there, but not a lot to take away. Jalen Smith was active, 13 points, 11 rebounds, 2 blocks. That could be big if he can actually play because they could use another big behind
Mhm.
Ayton. JaVale McGee, 10 points in 11 minutes for him. So that's something there. And then on the Kings side, I thought what was most interesting there was they went with Tyrese Halliburton in the
Yes,
starting
but he
five.
healed off the bench.
Yeah, but he healed off the bench. So you don't want to go too crazy reading into preseason lineup stuff. But Holmes, Bagley, Barnes, Fox, and Halliburton, and then healed and Davion Mitchell got the bulk of the minutes off the bench. So that could be something that could carry over. And Marvin Bagley continues to just tantalize you, 15 points, 5 rebounds in 21 minutes. It's either going to happen for him this year, or it's
Or it's
probably
never
not
going
going to
to.
happen. So we'll see.
Let's jump to Nuggets and Clippers. This was a good one. Clippers won 103-102. Was able to catch most of the fourth quarter of this one. Michael Porter Jr. with a "This is why you paid me" stat line: 23
Yep.
points, 7 boards in just 22 minutes. Shot 9 of 15 from the field, 3 of 5 from 3. Aaron Gordon 8, 4, and 3 for the Nuggets. A lot of guys off the bench that were coming in here. I saw Bull had a nice play where he dribbled the ball all the way up the floor, went coast to coast, had a little behind the back move. That's always fun when you've got a guy his height.
5 blocks,
which is
in
insane.
20 minutes.
Great stuff.
Yeah.
Unleash him. And then Bones Highland is always a blast, and he put up 19, 4, and 2 on 8 of 13 shooting.
Yeah. Yeah. He chance for him to maybe be a rotation guy for the Nuggets this year while they're down Jamal Murray, because they're going to be looking for some backcourt scoring for sure. Will Barton didn't play, but it sounds like he's really close to getting back, and Jokic didn't play either. On the Clippers side, there's not a whole lot to take away from this. Terrence Mann was pretty good, 14 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists, but the rest, it just was kind of, they didn't play a lot of their guys. Ibaka didn't play, Batum didn't play, Paul George didn't play. We know Kawhi is out, so just not I don't know. I'm not going to read a whole lot into what the Clippers did in this.
I've got a couple of takeaways here from the Clippers, and first and foremost, late in the game when the game's on the line and they weren't playing their starters, and like Terrence Mann was the guy. He was the man. Right. I mean, he was the guy that they all look to. And that's kind of something to watch in these games when the starters aren't there. Who is it that everybody else defers to? The Clippers very much deferred to Terrence Mann, and he made some really nice plays down the stretch. Isaiah Hartenstein,
which is odd because he was out there with Luke Kennard,
yes,
who you would think he's the guy who's got the contract extension and all that. And yeah, Kennard was very much deferring and letting Mann be the guy that ran stuff through.
Kennard made a few nice plays, but definitely Mann was the man. Isaiah Hartenstein and Harry Giles both looked good. Hartenstein had a number of dives to the basket where the Clippers, I mean, they were uncontested dunks, but he put himself in the right spot and the Clippers were able to find him. Pretty ferocious dunks, too, for Hartenstein. And then Harry Giles, 8 points and 12 boards in 16 minutes. That's a pretty solid stat line. So that's a battle to keep an eye on between those two guys.
Yeah, one of those two guys is going to get that last roster spot because they don't have a lot behind Zubac, especially if Ibaka's not fully ready with the back injury.
The one thing that's a little weird between those two, though, is 4 turnovers for Hartenstein and 3 for Harry Giles, both in limited minutes. You don't see turnovers like that from bigs typically. So
not out of the bigs. Yep.
All right. That gets us through the night of NBA action. Front office viewers, listeners, let us know. Do you like us going through the games like this? We are going to be doing this a little bit more regularly once the regular season starts up. So give us your thoughts on how we approach this and everything. Let us know how you feel about it. And don't forget to subscribe as well. Keith, final thoughts before we get out of here?
One piece of news. Detroit Pistons picked up their 22-23 team options for Sadiq Bey, Killian Hayes, and Isaiah Stewart.
Okay.
No brainer
Yeah.
there. We knew all of those would be picked up, but now that is done. That is picked up, and all those guys will be ready to go. So that they're all going to be under contract for next year. Reminder that has to happen a year ahead of time, basically a year ahead of time. So August. This calendar man's got me all screwed up still. October 31st is the last day to pick up team options for 22-23 for rookie scale guys. So that is now done. But yeah, like Trevor said, let us know what you think about these whip around wrap up style shows. We're going to try to do that. We may separate that and do the more front office news show different from it, but it's preseason. We're going to keep working through all this and figuring it out.
That's right. That's right. So give us your thoughts in the comments section. Again, don't forget to subscribe, turn on those notifications as well. Till next time, everybody, stay safe and see you.